All right. So what's happening now is John's putting together a sample for us.
Right. So first you're gonna have the vodka, which is slow distilled. 5Saints slow distilled vodka, 100%
Excellent.
Pennsylvania yellow #2 corn. You're gonna try that. I probably know what you're gonna say.
Woo. I like it, man.
Smooth.
Smooth.
Yeah. And then here's our white whiskey. Our white whiskey is the 75% corn, 25% rye.
And whiskey's my favorite, so I'm looking forward to this one.
Right. And it's white whiskey because it really doesn't spend a lot of time in a barrel. And then we've got our savory.
That one's
Good.
strong, yeah.
Well, it's 90 proof. And then we've got our savory Tuscan style gin. And this is our latest release. And this is where we dialed down the juniper, but we added all kinds of Italian herbs and spices. Very radical.
You can smell that. I mean, you can smell that in the gin, the juniper and everything that you're talking about. I've never really been a gin drinker, but when you're sampling all three, you can.
Yeah, you're gonna like that.
Wow. It tastes exactly as you described it.
So those are the three, and then we'll have a fourth, which is the blood orange liqueur shortly.
Excellent, man. Those are all excellent, and I'm looking forward to sharing this podcast with everybody. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, John.
Thank you.
All right, so check it out, man. Welcome to the last episode of the year of KnowLovePhilly. For this episode, we decided to show some love to the burbs. And since it's the end of the year, what better way to end it than with an episode about alcohol from our local area? So for this episode, we dropped through Norristown to speak to John George, the owner of 5Saints Distillery. He is I would describe him as the Walter White of whiskey. He considers himself more a Forrest Gump of whiskey, of distilling rather. But John tells us an interesting story about how he and his wife acquired the old Humane Fire Station in Norristown and turned it into this distillery. It's an awesome distillery. It's amazing. He tells us a little bit about the distillation process behind his spirits and the meaning behind the 5Saints story. His quest to make a 129 proof alcohol, and he tells us why he wants to do that. And we learn about some of the places in Philly and the surrounding area where you can actually pick up some 5Saints liquor. Although I recommend you go in there yourself and take advantage. They have tours that you can do on Saturdays. So I really recommend the trip out to Norristown. And if you've never been there, you're unfamiliar with it. Norristown is right outside the Roxborough Ambler area. You just kind of take Ridge all the way down, all the way past Chemical Road, and then Ridge will turn into Main Street, and it's literally 20 minutes away from Antioch. But Norristown's an awesome spot, man. It definitely still has the Philly vibe to it. You still see tons of row houses. It's got corner stores, access to SEPTA, the best Mexican food. I mean, seriously, like this place kind of. They have a lot more options than you get in South Philly, and it's awesome food. Like there's tons of great Mexican food out here. But what's awesome is that John, and his team have set up this distillery. They distill all kinds of alcohol. They do whiskey, they do vodka, they do gin, and I think he's branching out to another area. But he has big plans for it. I mean, he's really trying to kind of boost it. I think where Norristown lacks a little bit is nightlife. There's only a few spots, and I think that he's definitely doing that change it. Now, they can only stay open till 11 because they're a distillery and they're selling alcohol and beer. So it's only open till 11. But it's a cool place to go and check out live music. You can play, they have game nights. They have open mics. But it's awesome. It's a really cool place. He's an interesting character. Oh, got an Amber Alert, and we look forward to having him on. It was nice having him on, and I hope you guys check it out. So this is going to be the 5Saints Distillery episode, and I'm going to go ahead and dedicate this one to my Aunt Bobby, who's one of the saints that we've been blessed with, and here's to happy spirits. So enjoy the podcast, folks. Love it. It's going to be awesome. Talk to you later.
With a cold.
All right, and here we are. So today we find ourselves in Norristown, just outside of Philadelphia, and I am with John. John, what's your last name?
George.
John George.
Three first names. They never gave me a last name.
All right. So John George is the proprietor of 5Saints Distillery out here in Norristown. He has pretty much taken over an old firehouse. The old Humane Firehouse. Is that correct? Right.
That's right.
So I guess my first question is, where did you grow up? Where did you?
I grew up in the country of upstate New York.
Okay.
I was in the country, and I lived next to a farm.
Okay.
And it was a very idyllic childhood, running around, playing football, spying on people's houses at night, doing the usual things, ringing doorbells, running away. Good kids, but a lot of country mischief.
So what brought you to this area?
Good question. So I went to. I'm a pharmacist by training. Believe it or not.
All right.
And went to Albany College of Pharmacy and went out and practiced as a pharmacist, both a hospital as well as a retail pharmacist. I worked at staff and director levels, and
so you're almost like a Walter White of whiskey.
Well, actually, it gets a little more involved than that. It's kind of like a Forrest Gump kind of moment.
Oh,
you know. My first job was it goes way back. I guess I'll have to tell you the story of the 5Saints, right?
Right. Totally, I want to know that.
Yeah, but so the 5Saints, and this is woven into upstate New York. So
when we passed by, we were like, "Is that a church or what happened there?" So, yeah.
So basically, you see these 5 pictures up here, and for the folks who stop in, I always tell this story. But my childhood was awesome. It was very idyllic, and everything was going fantastic. And then 11 years of age, my biological father died of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Wow.
A tragic accident. He was an upstate New York State policeman, and it was accidental and back too close to a snowbank. And I can remember his 3 brothers and a friend walking in and saying, "Well, we can't replace him, but we're going to teach you everything we know." And that was a big moment because if I wasn't in school, I was either after school or on weekends spending time with my uncles and a friend. And you see their pictures up there. I learned how to, I didn't have a driver's license, but I was driving tractor trailers at my uncle's lumber yard.
Oh, the life of the farm, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was hunting and fishing with my Uncle Joe, who fought in the World War II. On the right is my Uncle Ray, who was an assistant fire chief. I learned how to slide down a fire pole properly. And then there's Giovanni. Giovanni is the baby face there. He got married to my mom. Correct me. He got engaged to my mother in 1972.
Wow.
Now, what's that, 44 years ago? Right? I asked him the other day, when are you going to make an honest woman of my mother and marry her? Because they have not gotten married.
Wow.
They've been engaged for 44 years. And he said, John, he says, she hasn't mentioned it in 25 years. I think she forgot. So, anyways, I after he died, I just wanted to make some money, and I opened up the Little Falls Evening Times, Park Road Drugs, looking for a stock boy. I went, got to know the pharmacist. I got the job, obviously. I ended up going to pharmacy school, Albany College of Pharmacy, and did well, studied hard, and then I got out and I worked, as I mentioned, in various capacities. But in the 80s, if you'll recall, I'm not sure, when were you born?
In the 80s.
So mid-80s, stock market was roaring for the viewers out there. They'll remember that you could buy a stock and pretty much do okay. And that was my first introduction to business. And basically, got really interested in business. So I took a law class and a finance class. I woke up in time to get a B in the law class and said, I ain't going to law school. But the finance class was amazing. I loved it. And I went down to Wall Street and spoke to a few industry analysts. And they said, you know what, Johnny, you got industry experience, your pharmaceutical knowledge. You've got your one corporate finance class 101. Go back, get your MBA. So I did. So in 1987, I went back and got my MBA and went to the University of Albany. And this was a very unique time because it was I went to the University of Albany and we were studying fixed income securities. It was a very small class. I forget, maybe 10, 12, 8 people in the class. And one of the securities that we were studying was collateralized mortgage obligations. Now, CMOs. Now, for those viewers out there who saw The Big Short, you will recall that they called them collateralized debt obligations. Well, they pretty much wrecked the economy. Wow. I will have you know that I had nothing to do with that because I went down and I didn't get the job to do that stuff. I went in the pharmaceutical industry, and I spent 25 years in the industrial side doing marketing, sales, marketing research, international marketing, etc. A very good friend of mine, Jay Rochelle, doing all kinds of things. So, and then I took early retirement from Pfizer to start a distillery, which we are now sitting in.
So when did you start getting into the distilling process? How did that happen?
Well, when I was, I guess there's 7 or 8, upstate New York, farmers didn't always feed all their corn to the cows. And that's all I'm going to say there. But in any case, I went to Moonshine University.
I got you.
And which is located in Louisville, Kentucky, and it's a great university. And I went there to refine my distilling skills and get them updated, etc.
So Moonshine University is a real.
I know you're smiling. Yeah, that's a real university. It's in Louisville, and we had some great faculty. We had distillers from primarily the Louisville area, and then micro distilleries. Like Jimmy Russell, I got my picture with Jimmy Russell's Wild Turkey. So you folks who love Wild Turkey, you'll probably love 5Saints because I learned a lot from him.
Wow.
And but it's a real university and it's hands-on, and you learn a lot, and you come back, and then you get assigned to faculty as a consultant. So we deal with Pete Kamer, my good friend, who's now become a very good friend of mine. He lives down there. He worked for Brown-Forman for 30 some odd years, and it's good to have that knowledge base to tap into when you need to.
So what year was it that you were doing the distilling school?
That would have been about 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Oh, just 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I kind of did it before I retired. Yeah, I went down and spent a week there, but there's a lot of pre-work, etc., things like that. And then I spent a lot of time working on this distillery, working on the firehouse, really, because we're a distillery in a firehouse, but in order to do that, you had to rehab the firehouse, and it's definitely worth rehabbing.
So first, I want to talk about a little bit about the firehouse, how you came about choosing that. But I also want to know about the distilling process, what all is involved with that. So I guess first off, what made you decide to? So we never really got to. How did you end up here? I mean, we got to New York, we traveled all over. How did you end up here in Norristown?
Well, it's life is a series of zigs and zags, and I get asked that question a lot. Why are you distilling? Why are you distilling in a firehouse, and why are you distilling in a firehouse in Norristown? And what I say is basically that distilling chose me, the firehouse chose me, and Norristown chose me. I had no choice. Okay. And it's kind of like it's a fate. I truly believe I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now at this point in my life.
Cool. That's a great place to be.
It is, and we're doing more than distill. Yes, we make spirits, and we make quality spirits, and people are enjoying them. And we're getting a reputation for really good, fine quality spirits. Right now we have our vodka, we have our white whiskey, and we have our savory Tuscan-style gin. But we're doing much more than distilling. We're actually becoming part of a community, and we're helping to rebuild a community. I have met so many quality, great individuals from Norristown. Norristown gets a bad rap, and it's totally unwarranted.
I mean, I live in this area, and I love this place.
It's amazing. Amazing bunch of people. They're so talented. The architecture here is great, and it's totally on the rise. And Norristown was a fantastic community. It is a fantastic community, and once again, we'll put the shine on it, and people will see that.
So how did you end up here? How did you find your way from all of that to getting here?
Yeah, so we went to the county and municipality. We did a presentation, said here's the kind of building we're looking for, and they said go look at the firehouse and go look at the prison. I said, what firehouse and what prison?
I didn't even know there was a prison here.
I didn't either. But we went and we pulled over and we took a look at the firehouse, and my intent was only to do a distillery. And I kind of looked at the building and said, "Oh my God, it's a beautiful building. It was definitely a beautiful female building." We looked at the prison that needs to be torn down because that's just dilapidated. But we didn't buy the firehouse until about a year later because what we needed was a frame of reference. And we looked around the area, and land is, for any of your viewers out there and others probably know this, looking for commercial property, it's very expensive. Very, very expensive. And we kept coming back to the firehouse, and I think over a few drinks with a good friend of mine, again, Jay Rochelle, we realized that this could be a viable proposition. So we approached the Humane Fire Engine Company. It wasn't the municipality, it was actually the Humane, it was society or foundation or brotherhood or whatever. And we bought it from them. We actually approached them, and one of their big questions was, what do you want to do with it? Because, they're a proud bunch. And for your viewers and anybody else, when you come into the 5Saints Distilling, you'll see a picture on the wall, which is the commemoration in 1888, when this building was actually commemorated. It was built before then, but it was commemorated in 1888. So it has quite a story to tell. But they're a proud bunch, and they like the idea of a distillery, being housed in their former firehouse.
Right.
So we sat down and we talked numbers, and we made a go of it, and we're here today.
That's awesome, man. So take me through a little bit about the distilling process. How does that work? I don't know anything about distilling. I've never made moonshine in my life. I've seen maybe a couple videos on it, but what is the distilling process here?
Well, the distilling process is actually the end process. What you have to do first is you start out with the grain itself, either corn or wheat or rye. In our case, we use corn, a lot of corn, grown by a friend of mine, Bill Beam, out in Elverson, PA. He swears he's a member of the Jim Beam family, but I think he's full of you-know-what. But in any case, and some of our corn comes from the Norristown Farm Park. But we... I
want to touch on that as well a little bit.
Okay, we'll come back to that, sure. But our vodka is 100% Pennsylvania Yellow No. 2 corn, some of which comes from the Norristown Farm Park. Our whiskey is 75% corn, 25% rye. Rye is actually a grass. When we grind that up, it looks like we're adding grass seed to our mixture, what have you. And it really starts with handling the grain. We want to make as much of that starch available to the yeast as possible for fermentation, because the yeast are our little buddies that will help turn that grain into alcohol. We want to maximize our alcohol yield. So we grind it, and then we thermally degrade it. We cook it with steam into a mash. And once we cool that down, we add our yeast. And that's when I say I have my millions of little employees helping out, a pound of it. And if you asked, I wouldn't be able to tell you because we never divulge this thing. Distillers will tell you a lot of things, but one thing they'll never tell you is what yeast they use. Okay. So I can't divulge that, so please don't ask that question. But in any case, we transfer that over to the fermentation tanks. And then fermentation, for all you biology lovers out there, you recall this, right? What's going on? You have your yeast, and they're basically eating the starch, hopefully not increasing in size because we don't want them converting that starch into proteins and their body mass. We just want them basically changing it into alcohol and other products. And unfortunately, yeast are not selective. They produce alcohol, which thank God they do, but they also produce a lot of other things that we don't want: methanol, acetaldehyde, nail polish remover, etc. And we can't help that. You can try to control it a little bit, but it's one of those things where you end up with a fermented mash at the end of either 5 days for our vodka, or about 3.5 for our whiskey, with a mixture of corn, undigested corn, dead yeast because they die in their own waste products. You have their waste products, which is alcohol and acetaldehyde, methanol, and other things, and you have water. And our job now is the distillation. That's where actually the distilling part comes from. So, again, for all the scientific folks out there driving or listening to this podcast, distillation is separating out compounds by their differences in boiling point. So alcohol boils at 78, water boils at 100 degrees. We're talking centigrade. And our first job as distillers is to separate off all the elements that the yeast have produced and leave behind the yeast, the water, and the digested corn. That's called the stripping run. and that's where we'll produce something called low wines. I'm not sure why they call it low wines, because it doesn't look like wine, doesn't taste like wine. It's about, I don't know, I'd say about 38% alcohol by volume. It's greenish in color. It reminds me of the Grotto over in southern Italy when I was over there, the watercolor. But we store that in a big tank. You get a lot of it. And then we'll turn around and we'll send that through the distillation unit again, which you see over there, the pot still and the columns, either another time or two more times if we're making vodka. And pretty much the rule is go low and go slow, which is take your time, a little bit
Like
of heat.
barbecue.
Well, exactly. You're being a chef, and that's what they told us down when we were in distilling school, is that you're becoming chefs. You don't cook fast, you don't turn the heat way up on high and try to make something, you burn it. Same thing here. You want to take your time, etc. So once we're done with that distilling, we end up with a concentrated, either a vodka or a white whiskey. And the analogy that I always share with folks is that here at 5Saints is that it's kind of like the orange juice that you would buy. Remember the orange juice in a little, well, you're from El Paso.
I do remember that.
Right?
When they come in a little frozen.
Yeah, little frozen things.
Absolutely.
So think of that concentrated orange juice. We end up with concentrated vodka.
All
and
right.
we keep it as a concentrate. Now, it doesn't have to be frozen, obviously, but we keep it in a bulk container until we need to bottle it. Because think about it. If we bottle it, and I don't sell those bottles or don't need those bottles, I got 1,000 or 1,200 bottles that I now have to move around.
Right.
And I don't want to bottle it until I absolutely have to. So we keep it as a concentrate. And we have our bottling machine. We have our, the labeling machine. 100 years from now, if this podcast lasts, and I hope that technology it will still be around. They'll listen to this. That basically, 5Saints Distilling and International Spirits will be a huge metropolis. It'll be a big facility. It'll have, I don't want to say smokestacks, because by then technology will have changed and it'll have green energy, flags flaring, what have you. But they'll know that the plant is running, producing quality ethanol. And they'll walk in and they'll see my picture with my baseball cap. And they'll say our founding fathers, my grandkids, and probably their friends will be running it. And below it will be our one labeling machine. It'll be under glass. And they'll say the poor SOB had to label each bottle by hand, one at a time.
Wow.
And that's actually what we do. We when you come for a tour, and we do offer tours.
On Saturdays, right? Saturdays at 3 p.m.?
Saturdays, a couple different times, 12, 1:30, and 3 o'clock.
All right, cool.
They usually, we say they last about an hour and a quarter, but, we get talking and we get chatting, and they usually last a little longer. It's always a lively bunch. There's a lot to talk about here, The firehouse is so full of history. It's, by the way, it is haunted.
Oh, is it?
Oh, absolutely. It's haunted in a good way. The firemen, firemen are quality folks, and they're people that we should admire, and I do admire them. My uncle is one of them, but they give a lot. And, the firemen, obviously they fight fires, but they do so much more than that. And I realize after inhabiting this firehouse that you always saw the cartoon or what have you, the graphic of the firemen going and rescuing a cat from a tree. Now, a lot of people say they don't do that or what have you. Well, they do in essence, because firemen belong to an organization. Yes, they fight fires, but they give back to the community in so many different ways when they're not fighting fires. And that analogy of rescuing a cat from a tree is really an analogy for the quality work and the dedication and the commitment and the giving back that firemen, firehouses across the United States actually do for the communities that they're situated in. They're just quality individuals, and they do so much.
And one of your father figures was, did you say he was police or fireman?
He was fireman, Uncle Ray, right up there.
So it's kind of odd that one of your father figures, you know what I mean, is a firefighter, and then many years later you go on to own this distillery and a fire station.
It's like I said, the firehouse chose me, and Norristown chose me. We're doing so much more than distilling, and that's what I like about it. I was once told by a priest buddy of mine who said, Johnny, you're going to do something really great, and when you're doing it, you're going to know you're doing it. And I think this is it. I believe. I firmly believe I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing at 58 years of age. Most people retire, go out, take it easy. Now, my philosophy is life can be an adventure if you let it be. And, you got to get out there where your dreams are so you can grab them. And, don't let fear get in the way of your dreams. And those are for your viewers. So I'm just going to repeat those because those are models that we live by. Life can be an adventure if you let it be. Don't let fear get in the way of your dreams, and you got to get out there where your dreams are so you can grab them.
That's awesome advice, man. I mean, for anybody that I think one of the big themes probably of this podcast with anybody that I interview is that it definitely is, whatever it is that your goals are, whatever it is that you're trying to reach, you kind of have to put everything, all the naysayers and all the reasons why you can't do it aside, and go with that, because it's really the only way you're going to be happy out of it. So I'm glad you found happiness in this. I want to know, how much of your pharmaceutical experience has helped you with this distilling process, or does it play any role whatsoever?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm a registered pharmacist, and I did work retail, so I was behind the bench. And one of the things I liked about retail pharmacy, when you go into like a Rite Aid or a CVS or a Walgreens, what have you, is that you talk to the pharmacist. People used to call me doc, and that was quite a compliment coming from people who were much older than I and had a lot of life wisdom. But I always enjoyed talking to the people, getting to know them, etc. Hectic at times, yes, but it was always good, and you got your regulars, and it was almost like you did become part of the community, as pharmacists do. And so I've actually now become one of the bartenders here at 5Saints. So not only do I make the spirits, but I
serve them as well, right?
But I dispense. I like not say serve. I like to use the word dispense. I dispense the spirits. And I think I'm getting quite good at it. But the thing I'm noticing is I'm really getting to know the folks that come in. And I enjoy talking with them. We have our regulars, quality individuals that are living their lives and doing good. And it's just, like I said, we're becoming part of the fabric of Norristown. The firehouse always was. And that's the beautiful thing about the distilling in the firehouse. And I think going back to saying that it chose me. Firehouses were always part of the community. You could join a firehouse, you could become a volunteer fireman, and become part of a group, an organization, and do good for the community. And once again, this Humane Fire Engine Company is becoming an integral part of the fabric of Norristown, again, hopefully for the next 100, 200, 300, 400 years. And but coming back to your question, pharmacists, obviously I know the science, so it was a little bit easier to learn the fundamentals of fermentation and distilling. I dispense, and it reminds me of my time as a retail pharmacist. But also, I'm compounding. I'm making a product, and I always loved lab in pharmacy school, and I love being in the back here in the distillery portion of our firehouse, actually making the product. So right now we have 3 products. We have the slow distilled vodka, and the best way to make vodka is to do it slowly, and we do that. It takes about 15 hours to make our vodka, and people always say, wow, it's really smooth. Getting a good name for it. Our white whiskey, that's 75% corn, 25% rye. We pass it through the distillation unit twice. It has tequila-like notes, and whiskey lovers are really saying that it's a great product. And then we have our savory Tuscan-style gin, which I'd like to say is
gin. Okay, so when we looked on your website, all I saw was the vodka.
I know we got to change those. We got to update those pictures.
Yeah.
Kind of busy distilling,
right.
But we'll get to that. And that savory Tuscan-style gin is really a big hit. I'd like to say it was in my family for 150 years. The recipe, that would be a crock of you know what, because it's actually I started working on it about a year ago. And it's what we did is we dialed down the juniper, but we've added all kinds of Italian herbs and spices: rosemary, sage, thyme, chamomile, eucalyptus, vanilla, pepper, coriander, fennel, and citrus. When I count, there's 10 of them, so I have to make sure I mention them all. And now we're working on a blood orange liqueur. And blood orange has basically become very, very popular lately. I hear more and more about it, like a blood orange beer that our neighbors, Conchaca Brewing, is making. good folks over there.
Conshohocken Brewing. I got to get over there as well, man.
Yeah,
I wanna
quality
definitely talk to those guys.
individuals produce a great beer. We actually serve their beer here, and they serve our products over at their brewery. But we're making a blood orange liqueur, which should be out soon, and we'll also be getting into the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, the distribution system, 10 stores. So folks out there waiting for our product, you can always come in to our distillery and buy it. We sell bottles whenever we're open, and we sold a lot of bottles over the holidays. So a lot of happy individuals woke up to see that Santa left them a 5Saints
Yeah,
spirit.
so I was going to ask you. So I was going to ask you about that. Is that are you guys? I don't know how it works here in Pennsylvania, but are you guys? So you guys are currently not in stores. I can't go to a liquor store and grab a bottle of 5Saints. I can't go to my local watering hole and be like, hey, I want a shot of 5Saints. Or can I? I don't know how that
You
works.
actually can. We're slowly getting into. We're a small team, and we don't have a full-time salesperson as some distilleries do, but we're building quite a reputation for quality products that people can savor, enjoy, and relax with. So we are now. You mentioned the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, the stores. There is a program where you can get into 10 stores, and we believe we'll be in stores.
Only 10.
Well, it's a test product. It's a test. They have 600. And, I'm not sure we could actually.
Oh, that's right. That's right, because it's owned by the state. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's owned by the state.
So any liquor that comes, so for whoever maybe not, away from Pennsylvania that's listening to this, the liquor is controlled by any liquor that you buy, you're purchasing from the state. Is that correct? I mean, when you're going to
That's
a liquor
right.
store,
That's
when you're
right.
going to a liquor
Absolutely.
store, you're purchasing it from the state. And so when what you're saying is that you're getting in for a base of 10 state liquor stores. Do you get to decide which ones those are? Or?
I can, yeah.
Okay,
we can.
cool.
I'm working very closely with the guys up in Harrisburg. I actually drove out there twice, and we picked 10 stores that we believe will be a good test for us.
Are they all here in the Philadelphia
Well,
area?
they are in the
or-
Philadelphia area.
Okay.
Yeah. We're starting local first, and
Now, does that mean that you cannot, you have to have that special permission to sell it in the stores? Do you have to have that same special permission to sell it to bars?
no.
Okay.
No,
All right. Okay.
we deal directly with bars.
All right, excellent. Okay, that's
and,
great.
You can find our product in P.J. Wellahan's, for example, out in Bluebell, and they're putting a new unit in Oaks, Pennsylvania, which is right near my house. So we hopefully will expand with P.J.'s.
Anything in Philadelphia? Do you have any? Are there any bars in Philadelphia?
There's
that are-
Martha's, which is a very hip bar down there. We're looking
Where's
at
that? Where's Martha's?
I couldn't tell you exactly.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure to check it out.
Yeah,
it
check
right
out
now.
Martha's. Great bar.
And that's in Philly, though.
We're checking out a few others. Like I said, it's just really a matter of getting down there. We're in Jasper's backyard in Conshohocken. Now, Jasper's backyard, if you haven't been to Jasper's backyard, you got to go there. Quality food, great individuals. They took a location and a facility and basically recreated it into a fantastic eatery, a bar, and they're all great individuals there. They carry all of our products, and if you're looking for a great meal and a great time and a great ambiance,
Oh wow!
you want to go to
Martha's-
Jasper's
so
backyard.
Martha's, is it in Kensington? Does 2113 East York Street sound
I
familiar?
think
to
it
you?
is. Yeah. Well, I couldn't tell you exactly.
all
I
right,
haven't
okay.
been there, but Ben, our head bartender, had gone there. And
That's where I work in that area.
You work in that
Yeah,
area?
I work in that area. So now I'm gonna have to stop by, and I'm gonna say, hey,
You gotta go
you
there.
gotta go. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
And we're in a few other locations, and the goal in 2017, we got a few very ambitious goals in 2017. So we're sitting in the ground floor, the bar area of our 5Saints distillery, which is a full bar. It's operational.
And you can rent this place out too, right?
You can rent it out on Mondays and Tuesdays.
on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Well, actually, you can rent it out during the day on other days, but we're open from Wednesday to Sunday.
Okay.
And we're typically open in the late afternoon and evening for people to enjoy.
Hey, what made you decide to? I noticed that you open at 5, and I was wondering what made you decide to do that, to open the bar part, I guess. is
Yeah,
what's
well,
open
we
at
only
5?
have the bar part right now. So,
Okay.
Well,
I mean, I assume that you guys have people working in your distillery, or you're.
well, it
working in your
gives us
distillery.
an opportunity to work during the day,
I
make the stuff,
understand.
and then sell it
Okay.
later in the
all right, cool.
later in the afternoon. Because somebody's got to make it, so I have to stop bartending and I go back and make it next.
Do you guys don't sell food here, right?
Well, that's what we're going to change. So
2017 goals, right?
2017 is we have a second and a third floor here, and we're going to put a firehouse restaurant in the second floor, and then actually a kitchen on the second floor that will actually serve the bar area here as well, this ground floor. So you'll be able to get things like, wings, firehouse wings, firehouse fries.
And
Everything will be
fries.
firehouse. Firehouse, casual. People say, what's the fare? It's casual firehouse fare.
Oh, okay.
And we're looking for recipes around the U.S. from where else? Firehouses.
Hey, you know what's awesome? So when I grew up, I had a firefighter or a friend whose father was a firefighter. And so what they would do is every day somebody else would make a different meal. So when you're saying you're getting recipes from firehouses, every day or every meal somebody would be in charge of making a new meal. So when we would sleep over or whatever and he would break breakfast in the morning, he would just yell out, "Chow!" And so that meant, come down and eat all the food's there. But that's awesome that you're doing that. So you're talking to different firefighters.
Yeah.
I hope you get into Philly and you ask some of those guys. I'm curious.
Well, we
what
will.
those
We
scrapple
need to
meals are
because
gonna
they're our neighbors to the east here. But it'll be firehouse fare, and it'll be from signature dishes from firehouses around the U.S. So people will be able to come to 5Saints Distilling at 129 East Main Street here in Norristown. They'll be able to get a quality, fantastic cocktail made with our spirits. They'll be able to go upstairs to the second floor, sit down in elevated dining, firehouse style, and actually have a great meal. And then if they want, they can come back down and listen to some music, which will be going on the first floor, or they can go up to the third floor and listen to some music. The third floor is wide open. It's where they used to have their meetings and congregations. So we're going to rent that out or have events there. And we'll have a bar up there. So we'll probably have 3 levels of bars here, actually. It's an amazing place.
So here's another question. So when you do the distillery part, I was reading on you guys are having something on New Year's Eve, but you have to stop selling at 11. If you guys turn that second floor into a bar, would those rules still apply, or what?
It does, because we're a micro distillery. So for micro distilleries in Pennsylvania, at least the way the law reads now, is you stop serving at 11 o'clock.
Even if there was a bar up,
even if a bar, so the bar up there would stop serving at 11.
Now, would that be? Is that all spirit? Is it beer and spirits, or
alcohol? Now we can stay open and serve food,
right,
and juice and soda and water.
Are people able to BYOB? Is that an option?
That's a good question. I haven't really looked into that. I couldn't tell you the answer to that right now. I'd have to go and research that. I hadn't really thought about that before. Folks, basically right now, folks come. They have a great time. Wednesday is gaming nights, and we got a lot of games, Cards Against Humanity and everything else over there in the corner. We have Thursday night is open mic night, so we have a variety of entertainers.
Are you getting comedians, or what kind of entertainment?
Music,
are you seeing in that
typically
area?
music.
Okay.
Although I do have a good joke that I always love to tell, so I'll get up and share that. And then Friday night's karaoke, and I will typically lead that off and share some musical talents. We have a lot of fun. Norristown's got a lot of great singers in the surrounding area, so they come. And then Saturday night, we always have musical entertainment. So I'm pointing to the corner here where we put them. Peggy Keller, Pat's Run, Ken Pearson, Brian Horojo, just different individuals that are musically talented, guitarists, pianists, etc. will come. We are going to start putting some jazz in here on Saturday nights once a month. We'll see how that goes. Trying it, see what works, see what people enjoy, etc. So, the question is, we stop at 11, or we stop serving, but we let people hang out. And typically, they like to hang out and relax and what have you. And we usually get out of here by about 12:30.
No, got you. So the other thing that we talked a little bit about the you have your whiskey, you have your vodka, and you have your gin. How are those? Is there a different? What is the different process for each one? I mean, because we're talking distilling.
Yeah, sure. So vodka, we started out with vodka first, and I wanted to do that because I think vodka is one of the toughest things to make. It's a simple product, but you want to get it right, and it's a signature drink for us. So we started with vodka, and we hit the mark on the very first time. It's slow distilled, as I say, 100% Pennsylvania Yellow No. 2 corn. the white whiskey is 75% corn, 25% rye, as I mentioned before. And it's a different distillation, a different set of yeast.
So it is everything. I mean, the distillation process is different as well.
Well, distillation is similar, but it's how quickly do you do it, and how many times do you distill the product will differ.
I understand. So that's what makes the different.
Yeah, and then think of gin as flavored vodka, essentially, where you have to add juniper, which a lot of people equate to pine trees, etc. And then you also can add anything else. So, if you look at the gins that are out there, many of them are citrus based, and they differentiate themselves based upon what kind of citrusy products or flavorings they're adding to their product. Is it orange? Is it lemon, limes, grapefruit, what have you? And what we did is we dialed down the juniper to the minimum amount that you have to have in order to be still considered a gin, because you have to have juniper and gin, I think 51%. But then you can actually add other flavorings, and that's what we did. So my family's from, again, drawing on my heritage here, my family's from Tuscany. My last name is George. It's John George, but if nothing had changed, it would be Giovanni Giorgi. And my grandfather, Giuseppe Giorgi, when he had Ellis Island, it would change to Joseph George. So we have the Georges in the U.S. and we have the Georgis in London, because there was two brothers and they both went to London. They went to be bricklayers, and my radical grandfather, Giuseppe, decided he didn't want to do that. He wanted to come to the U.S., so he grabbed his girlfriend, Marcella, and they got married, and they came to the U.S., and thank God they did, because we're here as a result of, them. But, yeah, so I forget where I was going with that.
Well, we were just talking about the different distillations between the
right.
gin, the whiskey, and the vodka.
So just to finish up on gin, so gin's a flavored vodka. So we added rosemary, sage, thyme, chamomile, eucalyptus, vanilla, pepper, coriander, fennel. I think there's probably a few others. I'm probably missing them. But it's very Italianese, which is why we call it savory Tuscan style gin. The word style is very important, because when we were working with the TTB, they said, Johnny, you cannot call it just Tuscan gin. You either remove the word Tuscan. And I said, I really didn't want to do that, because it was inspired by Tuscany. And they said, in that case, well, then call it savory Tuscan style.
Got you.
Gin.
So I don't understand what the difference is, though. Can you explain what's the difference between Tuscan and Tuscan style?
I gave it the name of Tuscan. I'm the distiller, and I added Italian ingredients. So I decided, I'm from Tuscany. Those ingredients are from Tuscany.
So it would have to be from legit Tuscany.
If I said savory Tuscan gin, it would have to be from Tuscany.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't want to get our Italian friends mad at us.
Right.
Obviously, my relatives would be all pissed off at me.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So we call it savory Tuscan style.
Got you.
Gin.
All right.
So those are the products, but we have a blood orange liqueur, and then we're going to be aging a couple of bourbons, and one will be 80 proof, which is a typical 80 proof, 40% alcohol by volume. The other is going to be a 129 proof.
Oof.
Now, you're probably wondering, Johnny, why is 5Saints Distilling going to create a 129 proof bourbon?
My guess is because you can.
Well, because I can. Because I can, and I'm the distiller. We make the decision. But our address is 129 East Main Street.
All right, excellent. That's awesome.
So
all right, very cool.
Remember where we're at. It's 5
Or
Saints.
forget. They may forget after, right?
5 Saints 129 bourbon.
So here's what we're talking a lot about ingredients. When you're talking about we talked about the corn and things like that. Your other ingredients, where are you getting those? Are those being harvested here locally? Are they regionally? What are we seeing in terms of that?
Well, the corn is local, and that's the bulk of what we use.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, and we'll continue. The rye we source through our farmer as well, Bill Beam. I think the rye that we're using right now, the first batch came from Canada. You have to get rye at a certain time of the year. It's actually a grass. It's a cover crop, and farmers they don't basically keep rye around. It looks like grass seed, and it is grass. They'll plant it as a cover crop to protect their land. So there's a certain time when it's available that you can get it, and we needed it, so we had to source it from Canada. But Bill's actually promised me that. Actually, we just got some. I think local. I bought 4 tons of 8,000 pounds of.
Jesus Christ.
Well, it'll make a few
Four-
batches.
4
Well, we're
tons.
looking to gear up for our rye whiskey.
All right.
So rye whiskey is predominantly rye. So that's going to be quite a product.
I'm
But
such a
we need it
huge
for
fan
that.
of whiskey.
Are you?
But I'll be on my go-to is Jim Beam, and I actually prefer that over Jack Daniels.
Well,
but-
after this podcast, we're going to have to. Well, maybe while we're talking, you probably
we
should.
could totally do that. That's
You
absolutely
should
possible.
try. You should try some of our white whiskey.
100% able
We'll
to
give
do
you
that.
a couple of shots of that. I mean, samples.
Right.
Excuse me. I don't want your viewers to think we're going to be drinking here at noontime.
Hey man, if you're taking a shot, it counts as drinking to me.
It's noon somewhere, right?
Right.
But that's where we source the stuff, and we try to stay local as much as possible, whether we're working on the firehouse. And I do have to call out a good buddy of mine, Bill Bono. Bill, I met Bill when I went to Duff Company. I'm looking across the street there for some plumbing parts. I said I need a good plumber. They said get Bill Bono. Bill's a local guy. He's a quality individual, and he came in and. We got to be good friends. We work well together. So I promoted him from plumber to chief fluids engineer. That actually says it on his card. He's assistant distiller. Another good buddy of mine, Jay Rochelle, who I've worked with many, many years in the past, pharmaceuticals, did a lot of work and helped us out quite a bit. And then obviously my wife. There's 2 people that own the place, myself and my wife. And my little 5 foot, she's the boss. She basically dictates what happens around here. If you go in the women's room, you'll see her touches there because she wanted to make sure we had 2 mirrors. We did homage to women firefighters. She basically did a lot of the decorating, the pictures here. And thank God, that I have Amy. And then the kids have been great, too. They're helping out. I have 3 kids, Hannah, Cameron, and Liam. Hannah's... she's going to college. She actually went to bartending school, so she helps out at night here when she's not in Penn State. My son Cam, he's looking to go to Philadelphia University to study screenwriting. I think he's going to do a great job. I had 2 rules for him. He said, Dad, what do you think of screenwriting? I said, well, 1, make the best, movies anyone has ever made, and number 2, most importantly, make sure I get in free to see them. And then my young guy, 12 years old, he's part of the FDA.
Oh wow.
He's a little Irish-looking guy, red hair, freckles, Liam, and the FDA, the Future Distillers of America.
Excellent.
I have told him that by the time he graduates from high school, he will be the best damn distiller in Pennsylvania. By the time he graduates, he just kind of looks at me, but he's learning the ropes, and he's got a lot of good ideas. So we'll probably come up with something. With
That's
Liam.
awesome. That's awesome that you've
So it's
been
very
able to incorporate
family-oriented.
everybody.
Yeah, it's very family-oriented.
Family in here. So, how long have you been here? How long ago did you take over the firehouse,
Yeah.
and how long ago did you guys actually open?
So we purchased the firehouse on Friday the 13th. I think it was back in 2013. It's about 3 years ago. And people say, weren't you scared? Well, we're God's distillery. What do we have to be afraid of? Friday the 13th is as good as any other day.
Right.
So I think it's been about 3 years. And we worked on it for about 2 years, a little more than that, to actually get it to the point where we could actually open, which was rehabbing it, inside work, outside work. We haven't done anything to the 2nd and 3rd floor, but we're hopefully starting that very shortly. We had to get the back all done for the distillery, and then the front where we're sitting in for the tasting room and bar. So it's been about 3 years. The guys have been great. When I say the guys, the ghosts, because remember, it is haunted. And I had a little chat with them. Once I found that out, I went up. We had to disconnect the electricity on the 3rd floor. So I went up during the day when there was light. Not that I'm a chicken, but I just want to be able to see this on a trip. So I went up and I looked at this big picture with all their pictures, and I said, all right, guys, here's the deal. We bought the place, as you know, and I imagined all these ghosts standing around me, stroking their beards, because they all had beards, goatees, mustaches, what have you. And I said, look, I'm going to be working here late at night. I don't want you scaring the you-know-what out of me, giving me a heart attack or anything like that. I said, if you'll play nice, and I believe you will, I'll reward you with whiskey at the end of the year, which, you don't even have to go into a barrel for, because there is something called the angel share. And the angel share is that spirits that actually evaporate out through the wood, and they it goes to the angels. Well, these guys, I'm sure, are angels, but I said we're not going to make it that hard for you. I'm just going to put it out in the open. You guys can enjoy it, relax, and have the bourbon or have the whiskey and what have you. So it's been a good relationship to date.
I think that it's awesome that your scientific background and things like that. That you have this idea of the paranormal. My question, and it's something you're 100% into. What have you had anybody from like Philly Paranormal come and like do an investigation and check it out? I just think that would be an awesome thing to do.
Absolutely.
I'll try to link you up. I'll find somebody
link us up because I'm actually thinking of. I've actually thought about having a night, one night a week, where we could actually issue paranormal detective gear to people, and they can just wander around the firehouse and see if they can locate any spirits. Now, I don't want to piss off any of our spirits here because they're good. They're good guys. They're good women. But I have thought about that, and I'd love to get in touch with them to be in touch. I truly believe these guys love what we're doing. Firemen are great individuals. I've heard there is a rumor, and I don't know if I can substantiate this. Firemen, like a lot of other people, do like to imbibe every once in a while in the spirits, and they are, it's been a good relationship so far. So I'd welcome the opportunity to go and see if we can make touch base with them, etc. We do. There is one thing, there is one picture that will not stay straight, and I have to straighten it out all the time. And it's a picture of the Rainbow Fire Department. And the Rainbow was kind of a sister fire department to the Humane, kind of like a friendly sibling rivalry, if you will. And I keep straightening this one picture, and I was always wondering, like, why is this picture always going crooked? And I went and talked to the guys, and basically what they said is, look, everything else is Humane up there, but that's Rainbow. So if you're going to have the Rainbow, it's going to be crooked.
All right. So here's an interesting thing too. The first fire truck that was ever purchased here was actually from Philadelphia.
Well, I don't know if it was the first, but it was one of the major pieces from the Humane Fire Apparatus Company, and we actually have We actually have the commemoration picture, 1888. This is the second firehouse that the Humane inhabited. The first was on Erie Street, and I'm not exactly sure. I think they outgrew it. It was a one kind of stall firehouse. And they commissioned this place to be built for about $17,000, and it had an overrun. It went to like 19 or 20, and there was a big hoopla. Oh my God! Could you imagine building this place for $20,000? My gosh, incredible! But back in 1888 or earlier, that was a lot of cash. So there was a big uproar, and but they built it, and they purchased one of the pieces of equipment. It was used from the Philadelphia Fire Department. It was made by Humane Fire Apparatus Company, and I think that's where they drew the name from, the Humane Fire Engine Company number 1. And they had that apparatus. Now we're sitting in, the place where the trucks and apparatus were housed, and you notice that the floors are slanted. And I have a question for you. Do you know why the floors are slanted in a firehouse?
I'm guessing so that when they release water at some point, that it goes out. And when right here, I mean, the doors are right there. So when they're washing the fire trucks, the water has to go out somewhere, and you would think that it would go down. That's my guess.
Yeah, well, that's a good guess, and that is a benefit of having slope floors. But the primary reason was actually that, think back to 1888. You got your horses in the back. There's a fire call. Fire's on. You need to go to it. Horses would be released. They'd come around the front. They'd back them up. They'd hitch them to this very heavy piece of equipment, the fire pod or what have you. In order to get them going, okay, let's go, guys. The horses would pull. The guys would get in the back and push. And they would actually, that slant would give them a rolling start. And literally, they did not stop until they got to the fire, because if they stopped, they might not get started again.
Right.
There's high, really heavy, pot there with the water in it, fire, craziness.
Anyways, needed the momentum.
They needed the momentum. Yep. So a little bit of history at 5Saints Distilling as well.
So tell me a little bit about this touring process that you guys. When do you guys offer that? When do you all offer it, and is there a cost to that, or how do people get to?
Yeah, so we do. Right now we do it on Saturdays, and it does get pretty booked up. We limit it to a group of 10. We like to keep it intimate. We have a lot of fun on these tours. We get chatting. There's certain points that I like to share. People can go online and book the tours. They're $10 per person. That includes the tour itself, which lasts about an hour and 15 minutes. Although they tend to go longer because we get chatting. We have a lot of fun. It includes a tasting as well, so they can come and taste all of our products, whatever we have at the time, the 3 or the 4 when we have the blood orange liqueur. And like I said, we do them at 12, 1:30, and 3 on Saturdays. They are quite heavily booked, and if they continue to be so, we'll probably do them on Sundays as well. But it's a great opportunity to spend quality time with people who want to know about the firehouse, because we go up into the second, we go into the third floors. They actually learn about the history of the Humane. They see a lot of the artifacts. We point some very special artifacts out. We show the history behind them. We talk about our past. We talk about our current situation and our future plans so that they can see it. And it generates a lot of excitement for people that are on the tour. And people come, they do the tasting, they do the tour, they buy a cocktail, they walk with the cocktail around, they do the tour. And they typically end up buying some bottles as well to take. So it's a fun time. We get to know them, they get to know us, and it's a great way to spread our message. So we're going to continue to do that.
So is most of that most of the people coming on that tour, are they referrals, or how are people hearing about you guys? I mean, where
there's a Groupon deal out there.
Groupon, okay, got you.
People are doing, but also the Valley Forge Tourism Convention Bureau. That is an organization we belong to, the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, and that's just word of mouth. So it's a couple different ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what is your, I noticed that you guys are also part of the Norristown Revitalization program. What is your goal for this place? What is it that you'd like to see?
The goal for this place is to be a destination in Norristown. A place that.
I guess what is your goal for Norristown overall?
Oh, Norristown.
When we talk about revitalization.
Well, Norristown's a great a center of community. It is a great community. Like I said before, Norristown gets a bad rap, totally undeserved. And that is changing rapidly. We've got a great commercial council. We've got great leadership. We've got the county supporting Norristown here. There's a lot going on, a lot of good things happening. And my goal for Norristown is that Norristown once again becomes a focal point where people want to go during the day to shop, but also at night to hang out with friends, family, what have you.
There's not much nightlife out here, man. I'm saying that as a 30-something-year-old young guy, professional that is looking to go out on a date night with the wife. There really isn't that much out here, man.
Right.
And what I would like to see as a resident and a community member is definitely lots more live entertainment like you're doing. But I don't know. I go into some of these places and my wife and I are like, this is not our spot. You know what I mean? So
we've got great restaurants. The Mishu Akana down the street, the Banh Mi Vietnamese up the street. We've got the August Moon. We've got Ethiopian food.
The best Mexican food, man.
And great Mexican, absolutely.
Like
from El Paso.
Oh my God.
That will come. A young couple just bought the cigar store, and they're going to put a coffee shop in there.
Are they doing away with the cigars?
The cigars went away a long time ago.
Okay.
They probably, with the ban being lifted on Cuban cigars, they probably should bring those cigars back, quite honestly. Coffee shop, cigar shop, right?
There you go,
They
yes.
should. I should have mentioned it, too.
Dude,
But it's coming back. Norristown, I've only met great individuals here in Norristown, a lot of support, and my vision for Norristown is that we will be, once again, a very thriving metropolis. People live here, but the place that people want to hang out to and relax and enjoy at night. We'll have that nightlife.
So dope. It's like such a. That could be such a spot. You know what I mean?
Oh, look at
Main
the architecture.
Street is
Look at the architecture out there. The architecture here in Norristown is great. You have a lot of young people moving in, buying houses. fixing them up. They walk down here and they're like, "This place is amazing. My God, thank you."
So close to the city. I mean,
Absolutely. We got the transportation center. We got so many good things going for Norristown, and the common council, the council people, the head, Crandall Jones and others, Jane Musone, and all the council people, council women, men. They're just great individuals, and we're in it together. And Norristown is the place to be. Norristown is where you belong. That's our saying, and I really believe that. You want to come here now. Don't wait, because prices of real estate are only going up, and they are rising fairly rapidly.
so what advice do you have for anybody listening that wants to kind of do their own thing and wants to be successful? Well, first of all, what is success to you? What is success to you?
Well, there's a couple of mottos that I live by, and I am going to repeat these because I lived. My formative years were filled with a lot of different events. My father dying at a young age, uncles filling in as fathers, kind of like a Forrest Gump kind of life. I needed a job. I opened the Little Falls Evening Times. I see Stock Boy. I go to Park Road Drugs. I become the Stock Boy. I end up going to pharmacy school. I get out of pharmacy school. I do retail, hospital pharmacy. I end up working in the pharmaceutical industry. We changed the way. I worked on some great products. One is a DDAVP nasal spray, which changes the way bedwetters, children who wet the bed, are treated. We changed a cultural norm. Did some great things, and had a lot of great experiences. Got to see the world. Retired early and came to this. So, my motto is, and Amy can share this with you, that life can be an adventure if you let it be. Don't be afraid. Do you want to? We're all going to get to a certain point where we're gonna pass into something else. When you look back, what do you want to say? I should have, or would have, or could have, or I did. We don't regret the things that we did. We regret the things that we thought about and didn't do. So to your listeners out there, if you're thinking about doing something and you're hesitating, if it's a good thing, you really want to do it and it can benefit others and yourself, go ahead and do it. Don't be afraid, because there's only so much time on this earth. And you want to do this. So life can be an adventure if you let it be. Don't let fear get in the way of your dreams. That's another one that I would share with your folks. We're all here for a purpose. There's a reason. And I think the other thing is that there's zigs and zags in life. So as your folks are driving, they're listening to this podcast or wherever they are, we all have zigs and zags. Things happen that we're unanticipated, maybe some good, some bad. And you say, why did this happen? Or, what have you. But when you get to a certain point in life and you look in the rearview mirror, those zigs and zags are actually a straight line to where you're at. And that's important, because we all have a role and a purpose. And right now, at this point in time, at 58, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which is distilling quality, fantastic small batch handcrafted spirits here at 5Saints Distilling. We're doing it in a firehouse, and I think that was preordained. And we're doing it in Norristown, and Norristown called out, and I'm happy to be such an integral part of Norristown. So that's my philosophy. If you come down here and I'm bartending, I'll share a lot more philosophy with the folks. I always love to see people and impart some.
Where can people get a hold of you? Where can, you have your website, your Facebook, your Instagram? Where you let us know?
Right here at 5Saints Distilling. Come to 129 East Main Street. You can call. We have our number. I probably should have that memorized, but I actually don't. It's so new.
I bet it starts with 610.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does. But they can always. I'm usually here when we're open, and we're open from Wednesday through Sunday, Wednesday and Thursday 5 to 10 at night. Today, Friday 4 to 11, we have karaoke, and then we will be open noon to 11 on Saturdays and 1 to 7 on Sundays.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you want to add? Anything that you want to say?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. I always enjoy talking with quality individuals like yourself and sharing a little bit about 5Saints Distilling. Everybody's welcome here. And if once you come and you have a cocktail and we get to know you, consider yourself part of the 5Saints friends and family.
Awesome.
So, thank you.
Hey, man, thank you so much for your time. Definitely want to sample your whiskey, because I'm a huge whiskey fan. So,
all right. Enjoy.
You got